Yes, so, yeah, so that was helpful that we finally, so everyone's been kind of waiting to hear what the next step's gonna be or what's coming, and especially with the deadline. Some other guidance that because there's no way possible to meet the deadline currently with not having the work program, because technically the work program, the work program was due the end of this month. And then it was supposed to have until the end of December for Eagle to be able to then review it and approve it. So obviously that can't happen. So the guidance will be that they're looking into trying to add okay, after we've issued it, you have this many days to do it. I suggested to Christina to suggest to the higher ups in Eagle to at least do 90 days. I think she had talked about 60, and I said, well, for me to do it, I have to be able to write it. We have to create it. Then we have to then bring it to our, to you guys to approve. And then if it is tied to the grant, that means I also have to bring it to the finance committee. And then I have, and depending where that all lays, then also bring it to a board meeting. So I was like, I mean, just getting the grant part of it approved can either take 60 days. I mean, without even including the fact of writing it and having you guys approve it, because that's part of the requirements. You guys have to approve it. So hopefully 90, I think more than 90, but at least 90 days is what she's gonna ask for. I think there's anything else on that. That's all I have for Eagle related updates regarding how the process is going. I don't know if Jeff had anything different than what I said.
No,
Yeah.
that issue is in Christina's hands. So she is gonna try and persuade to get that 90-day extension versus the 60.
Yeah. So otherwise, I would probably ask for an extension if we had to do the 60 days. I just can't with how the county runs. And in our discussions, there was a couple other counties that are in there. I think, can't remember what county Ann Arbor is in, but there's someone in the group from there, and then, can't remember where Sarah Kelly is, but there's other counties, and they're like, yeah, there's no way you can do it in 60 days with how things have to go through county processes. So we'll see how that comes out. So, and then I guess kind of to transition, because you really can't budget without knowing some of the items that you need. And one of those would be the consultants. We had 7 consulting companies. Just send in all their items for the RFP. So their books. The first one I just started looking at is 50 pages. So, and we've decided to do like a rating system. We focus heavily on try to have local kind of understanding. Based on discussions we've had historically, we thought, people to understand Ottawa County was really important. There is, I think 6 of them are all from Michigan or Michigan based. One was out of, I think, Arizona. It was kind of surprising because I didn't give a budgetary amount at all, because obviously I don't know what it is. So it's interesting because I think all but one were relatively in the same area for budget type items. We gave a setup of 3 structures of, what's the most minimum and what's the most demanding. So the most minimum is up per hour. Like, hey, we need help with getting this data. Can you help us with that? Or items like that. So very, hourly based. And then our second level was, you're gonna help us, like we're running it, like we're doing it, but you're there to guide us. Like, do you really need to do that direction? Or maybe you should think of it this way. So there's kind of essentially part of the team. And then the third option would be if they were running the show, but we were doing what we, like, oh, we need this money, we need you to talk to these people, or can we do this together? So them running it mostly, and us. Mealy wanted that kind of information as well to kind of make sure it was practical. Like, if we're gonna invest this much into it versus them doing, what's the comparative, as well. I envision, you know, step 1 or 2, but again, if it's more advantageous to do step 3, then is that the direction that we want to go? I wanted to have I like to have everything if I can. So I think we're,
And it may depend on the step of the process too.
yeah,
Need more handholding than other times.
yeah, exactly. And so that's why I wanted to have all those options, you know? Cause I know, I think Carrie was very strong and wanted, like, saying like, hey, we should try to do 90% of it. And without having the plan format, you know, in front of us or really dissecting the, um, the plan, like the law. I didn't know, like, you know, so we're gonna look at those and, I don't know when, I think we were shooting for, cause we knew like probably December or January is when the grant would actually be kind of, we'd know more about financials. So, I'll keep you posted on that, but it's gonna be stretched out process, cause there's no hurry, cause there is no grant, so. Um,
Can't recall, did you share a copy of the RFP?
I don't think I did, it's all, it's public, what we do, but I can share it with everyone. Yeah, yeah, and I work with, in purchasing, John Marin. He is our purchaser and Eric is his supervisor, and we work with them to create it, because it was a little bit of a different one. It's not a typical. I also actually had a couple other counties asked if I could share it with them, because I'm part of the West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum, and they have like a solid waste group. We all kind of, a bunch of counties had done some stuff together, and that was a group that I shared it with too, because they were interested, because they, again, they don't know, this is all new for everyone. So,
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
yeah. But that is all I kind of have, for my updates.
Any questions for Kim? And where we are in that process, or any questions, I guess, for Jeffrey while he's still with us?
With that process, so you've got multiples proposals, you're reviewing those. Where is it going next? You're narrowing it down, are you doing interviews? Who's a part of that process? What does that look
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, so this is the first one I've done with the newer structure that, that purchasing has. So part of our purchasing or our committee is John from purchasing. Nina is our fiscal person at Public Health. She will be also helping a lot with the grant because she does all the orgs and all the coding, and she's the behind the scene kind of make sure we're not doing things wrong. And then myself, and then Spencer, my supervisor, is part of that. I can't see why you couldn't be part of it if you really wanted to be, because you're intern within the county. I don't know how all that goes, but that's who's on it currently. And I know, I think I lost my mouse, of course, there it is. Look at my calendar. I know the next step will be we all have to, there's a rating system for everything, so we valued what we thought was important, so being local, maybe having past experience, having, government experience was something that we wanted to make sure they had. I can't remember some of those other keys, but the RFP, when I share it to you, will have the criteria that we're, kind of going on. But again, it was very heavy, like having experience if possible, and then we also do something a little bit different, which was asking kind of like interview-based kind of questions of like, have you overcome something? How did you do it? Because we wanted to make sure because this is so new, that if we came into a snag, that they have the mindset to be able to work around it versus like, oh, we'll just, you know, keep going and just call it good. So, I will share those. And then it will be, so we're gonna talk about the rating system, and then it's an interview process too.
And how will this committee be involved in the determination of who's selected?
Yeah, that we haven't discussed much, 'cause I don't know how much of the committee is gonna be involved with that part. I do want to have some level because they'll be part of us.
Definitely important.
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. So I think once we, rate it, maybe interview them, maybe that's something after that point where we've like, cause I can say there's already one that's kind of clear, that's not, they didn't even try to read the
Okay.
information,
It
so.
just filter it down.
Yeah,
Give us
exactly.
recommendations.
We were actually kind of nervous at first that we weren't gonna get any, and I'm like, I've had so many people reach out to me wanting to do it, that's why I was surprised, but then they did it all last minute. And the first questions because they have it, so they have to ask questions, and none of the questions that were asked were even related to materials management plan. It was all related to the hazardous waste part.
Not surprised.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, a couple of them reached out, I'm sure. They reached out to me
Yeah.
asking how they could get, in touch
Yeah.
with you about.
yeah. At one of our meetings, I talked to,
Okay,
so,
so I may have to recuse myself from one of them. but-
yeah. But,
All right, I think just
yeah,
noted and discuss as a group
yeah,
to bring that to
Yeah.
us to talk. through
Yeah.
For providing recommendations.
I would think it would at least make sense to like at the top three, like here's the ones that we're really, we're weighing it on,
We need to do follow-up interviews or something.
Yeah.
We should have that ability.
And especially if we've got time to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. And that's where, some of the things is I wanted to start doing it, 'cause I know some counties have done it, because some of them are gonna try to use them for the work program. It's my intention not to use them for the work program. Because, mainly because of how the county, works with the monies, is that I can't use money if I don't have it. So I can't, even though they say you can use it, we can't. So I don't currently have a budget for it. So I can't currently use them for that. If I wanted to use their help, which, some provided in their things and general work programs, and then the thing is too, there's no guidance with it yet. So how specific Eagle wants, or, with some of the other grants, I know that you can be kind of, like the infrastructure grant, you can say, I'm gonna use it for building. And then, okay, as we keep going on, actually a building, this much money that I said for a building is actually broken up more to this. You can keep playing with it, break it down smaller. So, and from what I gathered, it should be similar to the infrastructure grant, but also not, so, so we'll see. I wanna have the terms, before I start committing to anything, I wanna know what the words are, what's the grant?
Sure.
So, and plus we can't funding, I can't I can't do a budget adjustment until after I have the funding. So, and I don't have any budget for it, so I'm gonna do it. And then you guys will review it. So. Yeah, I think I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Kim? On her update? Okay, so then our next item. Old item C, new item B, open discussion regarding materials management planning items, anything that the committee wants to learn more. Kim, do you have more specific?
No, this was just if there was any areas that people wanted to, that you've, come upon and wanted to learn more about, any questions. I do know that there's a draft update they're trying to do for part 115. I still gotta review it. I have some areas, composting is an area where they are possibly making some changes. They've removed the educational part. That's something that I wanna look into more, kind of make sure that it doesn't get lost if possible. Because I think you can't really do some of the changes without the education. You can't tell people to do more, but not tell them why. So, or if that's something that we'll have to make sure that we keep in our plan specifically, so. Yeah, essentially, if there's anything that you guys wanted to learn more or anything like that, or elaborate on. Nothing.
Yeah, Jeff, do you
Oh.
know why they're excluding the education portion?
No, I haven't seen the template for the contract, and
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what's going to be excluded or included. But I'm not sure. There may be other outlets for education support through Eagle, but we have not identified exactly what that would be. Because we have given out small education grants, small community education grants, but they wouldn't fit for some of those communities in Ottawa County.
This
Thank
would
you.
be the part of the law, part 115, the
Mm-hmm.
edits. And apparently, I know the MRC and I know Christine has mentioned too, that portion is being suggested to be taken out, but there's not explicitly why. Whereas a lot of some of the changes make sense, like the coal ash is not called coal ash anymore. I forgot what it was called, but those kind of changes make sense. But that one was one that didn't have an explicit, like, this is why.
What is the change that they're making with the compost? Or proposed in the draft?
Yeah, that's one of, I don't know. I have it. And I think that's something I could share with the updates. I know that all the updates that I would suggest would either go to the MRC to provide, or there's another group that we could bring it to suggest adding it. But yeah, I can let you guys see it. Can't see why not.
Who do those drafts get communicated to? Or is that your group that you're on that?
I think there's certain, I would guess, stakeholders is what they would use. Certain stakeholders that the state identifies. Such as like the MRC, and I can't remember, is that SOAR or essentially other certain groups related. I'm sure there'd be some sort of group that you guys would be part of too, because obviously you guys are stakeholders, Republic, Waste Management, or Waste. I don't know which group that is, but they would identify a stakeholder and then they would share them. But yeah, I can share it. Again, they're just proposed updates. And I was explaining that the main reason why the updates are being looked at is because of the coal ash changes. Is at a federal level, so they have to meet what the federal standards are. To be able to meet something. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that might be interesting to
Yeah.
review what those proposed changes are, because presumably there's a public comment period that we could, as a group or individually, prepare and submit comments.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's to that step yet.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's at.
Yeah, so I think that's important to, whatever you can get us
Yes.
as far as what's happening or updates on that process, that would be helpful. Anything else anybody is curious about or would like more information about currently? Okay. I guess since I know Jeffrey's gonna have to leave, anybody have any last minute questions or things you'd like to ask Jeffrey before he has to hop off the call here?
Just shoot me an email if you have any, if you don't think of any right now, and I'll be happy to get back with you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
Okay, so then we will move to new item C, discussing a tour and organic discussion with Organicycle. Highly recommend the tour. It was great.
Not sure what to bring in. First of all, we allow tours on our facility to the public, to our accounts, customers, or just to the general public. So that they can see what we're doing. So we can show full transparency on how to manage composting correctly, how it's collected, and then how we turn it into compost. We find that this is very important to do this, mainly to give composting as an industry some credibility and to bring some reputation to this industry. We had some prior composters that we worked in the past that weren't quite doing it very well, where it, I think, caused some distress to the point where we still see today people saying or doubting what we're doing as a company. So we recommend anyone who's interested in seeing what we're doing to come on out, set something up, and we're open all the time to anyone who's interested in stopping by us.
How much do you want that promoted?
I'm open to whatever.
Okay.
You know, we, our services expand Ottawa County, Muskegon and Kalamazoo. We want any new customers to know that this waste that's being collected and diverted is being composted correctly, and that we're taking pretty strong measures to make sure that it's being done correctly.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Okay.
doing that. I think the big part of this
Yeah.
is
So,
education.
it appears that some people wanted to do some tours. I know
Yeah.
that you were here
Yeah,
earlier last week.
Carrie did.
And, so yeah, if anyone wants to come out to the site, check it out. I don't know if you want to schedule or
Yeah.
put something together and do it as a group, or you can do it individually. Everyone's got busy times and schedules. So we try to accommodate.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we took away is how bad your customers are at knowing what to compost. Like, there's a huge educational need there to help people know what they can put in their bins and not. But I mean, you have a really good process for how to deal with
Right.
that.
And then we say, that's what we say, is that we want people to see the good, the bad and the ugly.
Yeah,
We find that customers that come out to check out our facility can see, okay, these are the problems that we see, they bring them back to their office or their work environment. And they can point out to why it's so important that you make good decisions with your trash.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why we started, like, I have an example there, but we have, links to our organics page on there. We talk about it in general. And we kind of provide, some of Iowa County's local composters, Organicycles on there. New Soil, we mentioned on there, Republic is on there. Republic's a little bit confusing, probably a little bit, because it's like, well, you have to contact Republic, because yeah, because hopefully you can't reach directly in a sense, or I tried to get a hold of Adam from where to be able to, I think it's Adam that does,
Yep.
yeah. But, so it just says contact your local person for Republic. So we try to get that so that people have the resources if they want to do it, as well as educational information. Ken Freestone, who was on there, is like a local composter. Kind of like if you still want to do it at home, that's still the best way to do it, but businesses or people that just can't have options too. But yeah, so if we want to have a talk about composting, I can send out a little survey about scheduling the go see his facility if you'd like. I've missed the composting tour, so I would go. If that's something you guys want me to do, I can try to schedule something. Probably do it before the winter starts.
Doesn't smell as much.
That is true. Yeah,
Doesn't
Yeah.
smell really at all, but
It does.
it's more like soil smell.
yeah,
It's not as wet, I should say.
That's right. Yeah, winter to get wet and it's fun.
yeah. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I'd be more than welcome to start scheduling that.
And Greg, right?
With that, Greg's compost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hands down an amazing guy just to talk to.
He really is. Actually, he's being recognized tonight at West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum,
Right.
by a local group, Evanston Group or something,
Okay,
for his work in sustainability.
good for him. Well deserved.
Yep.
Think about this effort, how the materials management plan comes together, that education outreach is such a big
Mhm.
part of this. And learning from each of the entities on how they do things, I think that would be really helpful and
Yeah,
at least start to list all that out.
yeah,
Gains our understanding, because then you basically do some type of, if you will, like a gap analysis, like what
Yeah.
else needs to be done? Who is doing what really well?
yeah,
So I think as a committee, I would suspect that that is kind of the space that we're going to get into. So just helpful resources, who, a listing of composting, who is doing what, and have
Yeah.
done the tours, like that should be
Yeah,
systematic process as we break all that down.
so I just wanna make sure I'm hearing you too in the right, so gap analysis is definitely one thing I think the consultant will help us a little bit, because there's just so much that there's a lot of gaps in Ottawa because it is so privately ran. But I think the information and the data is out there, it's just having the manpower, like, so, and some of the stuff is, will we have interns, maybe use them to, help us, to fill those gaps in. But, besides the gap analysis, are you saying too, it might be beneficial too, to kind of like highlight like how each of you guys are bringing that education, or like bringing that thing to the table to fill in the gaps, or I'm trying to think, or just like
Not
the
necessarily.
spot, like the areas.
I'm just thinking out loud here. If
Yeah.
we go and do a tour, maybe there's more tours, like what are those
Mhm.
specific things that we need to be?
Okay.
You're paying attention to,
Mhm,
what will the consultant wanna pay attention to?
mhm,
Tours are great, that learning opportunity is
Yeah.
really valuable,
yeah,
but it'd be nice to just collect information, as you will. kind of Standardized process somehow, so we're coming out the other end and not wasting our
yeah,
some energy doing that. So
Mhm.
this is really what we got out of these tours.
yeah.
These are the tours, let's check it out, this one, this one, this one.
Mhm.
Good examples of each piece that we're gonna have to be doing. Makes sense.
And I just keep going back to that bullet point of the materials management plan, education and outreach, we gotta define what that is, so everything we do leading up to that should just be a collection of information.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, so I guess I will send out, an invite to see what who is interested in going to the tour, and then maybe some dates as well.
All right, any other discussion on organic right now? Okay, so then with our reordering of the agenda, we are back to the bylaws, and I think Jack's on with us now, so.
Hi, all.
Well, good morning.
We need to get him a new shirt.
I know.
Yeah,
Whoever
look
said,
at
whoever said that, I'm not talking to them anymore.
Was that this weekend,
No.
or the next weekend? I know it's coming up.
Oh, it is this
This
weekend?
weekend,
I thought
okay.
it was-
No, the big game is this weekend.
I thought it was this weekend. I was like, I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, it's this weekend. So beware, the Spartans are lurking.
Way down there, but sure.
Again, I'm not talking to you.
Good.
Okay, all right, before this gets too far off the rail here. Bylaws. I don't know if anybody has a preference. Do we want to kind of step through this, or did everybody have a chance to review it and just have some questions? I don't know that we need to go through each section by
Yeah.
section, but if there's any specific questions that anybody had when they read through it, or if there's any, I guess,
Yeah,
conversation that you've had with Jack, that there's any updates at this point that you want to share,
Yeah.
Kimberly, maybe we could start there.
yeah, I'll start with what I was sent. So
Yeah.
one item was sent about, there was two people sending stuff. So one was the, adding of, let me see if I can pull it up and share it too. That might be
The
helpful.
election. Elected official.
Yeah, the elected officials, and then, sending notice that you're not gonna attend or be able to attend. But I think both were good ones. See
The
here,
thing I had on the,
share. This one. And then. Do you guys see the bylaws remotely?
Yes, we can see them.
Okay, make good. Appreciate that. All right. You. All right, so had it, I did. So this is the most current version. I did not print it with my notes, but we added right here. This area from what was originally sent. Which is the elected officials and or regional planning agency. Because those are two areas where they're not, you guys are not explicitly from. Are allowed designees with or a member of the agency or governing body, a written notice of meeting minutes of representatives shall be provided to the county's committee or process, county's committee process, and provide to the coordinator to present to the notice of the board, which was what both of you had done. You had minutes from the regional planning agency, and then you had a notice from your elected officials.
That was per statute.
So that was per Eagle. So the law says elected officials or regional planning agencies. I think, and that's something I've thought about too, like it's suggesting in part if they're doing edits, like, hey, you might want to think about this because
I made that suggestion to them too.
yeah, so because with part 115, there is no wiggle room in how it's worded. But Eagle, there's no way to strictly adhere to it. So because people are struggling, there's people struggling to fill the city position right now because they don't have in the law that, so they're starting to like let more people know that you can have a representative, you know, if it's from your voting member or your elected officials. And then again, the regional planning agency, some of them are very small, or you're having them represent a large area. So let's say Dan B or
Dave,
Dave B, he is Kent counties, but he would have to represent all, like,
he's got 13 counties.
yeah, so like having one person or two, or the staff, because some of the staffs are small, like two or three, and having to go to all of them. And then again, they also don't have that local knowledge set too, or that understanding. So that's where, Eagle says yes, like before we, with these options, we verified with Eagle that this would be something that they would accept.
Right.
Jack brought that up too.
Can I chime in here?
Yep.
That's well and good that Eagle finds that acceptable. The problem is that statute doesn't read that way. And the last time I looked, the statute rules, not a department of the state. They can have their interpretation of it, but the thing is, the legislative body did not put in something like that in the members as listed in subsection 1B. It doesn't say or their designee. I don't know how you get around that.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, okay, if you have somebody who comes in representing one of the elected officials, does that affect the quorum? Because they can have somebody there representing them, but that could affect the quorum because those are not the members of the committee. They're representatives of a person who is on the committee. And then if you go down to the voting portion, there is you can't have a proxy. So if the county official sends his designee, he can just sit there, he or she can just sit there, and take in all the information, but they can't vote. on anything. So if you have a quorum or you don't have a quorum because those people are not there, you wouldn't be able to vote on anything.
I'm trying to get my head wrapped around this. So part 115 under membership of this committee. Okay, a representative of the regional planning agency whose territory includes the planning area. It's Dave B's group.
Mhm.
I serve on the board of that agency.
Mhm.
Is that, how are we understanding that then? Does that not mean I'm a representative?
So that's where I asked Eagle, cause I asked Dave B first, and then, Becky had mentioned that you do something similar with parks. So I think it's parks, or another committee.
They have the
Yeah.
same thing,
Yeah.
be a rep, from statute. they're
Yeah.
a representative of regional planning
Yeah.
agency, which I serve on a regional
Yeah.
planning agency.
Yeah, so they said that, yeah, and that was the same thing with, was just a little bit more controversial in the description, the same for, Dan's position, but yes, so they said that you are a representative of that.
Right, so if we take Eagle out though,
Mhm.
I'm listening to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
here as well, like statute's gotta prevail on this right now.
yeah.
So is there something that's going on with how the language is written in statute that is of concern? Is,
That, nothing has came up, like,
okay. So I'm
yeah,
just wondering
so-
that language for the
Mhm.
bylaws, or what exactly are we trying to sort through right now?
so Dan had suggested the edit, put that in there because of like both your guys' seats are not, so mostly, cause I guess first question would be to Jack. Would be representative, how would that read with the regional planning agency portion? How is that interpreted, I guess, or
I think that's.
How does
a
it
good
read?
question.
I guess, yeah, take, step one. step
Again,
two.
just looking at part 115, that's the statute. And it outlines who can be a member of the 11-member board or committee that you have formed. The 11 members are listed in
Yeah.
1B. It doesn't say anything about designee or nothing.
So we're looking at seat number 11 currently, a representative of a regional planning agency.
That's it.
Yep, so we'll look at just that one for the second, and that would be Paul. And he is on the board. Right.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't need a,
yeah,
so the way the bylaws are reading to
yeah,
right now, like, I don't need to have a designee.
yeah,
It's just
you're a
me.
representative of,
I think
Yeah.
that's more cut and dry than
Yeah.
the elected.
yeah,
officials.
so then we go back to the elected official one.
Yeah.
So then my question would be based on the law, how it's read, which is an elected official of no, not township, where's the city one?
Maybe you're-
An elected
Yeah.
official of a city or village.
Yeah, city or village, that's what it is. So with the letter, it's how Eagle told us to do it. So Dan is filling as a committee member. He was assigned that seat. So,
For the city.
yeah, so he's not acting as a proxy. He is representing that seat. So that's where I would say that we talk to Christine and suggest the update or talk more about it. I know for sure Eagle's not gonna, the state's not gonna come after us.
No.
So I know that part.
Well,
So that's
Yeah.
where I don't know, that's all I can say, cause I know that
Get
much.
elected.
So,
okay.
That's what I
the-
know.
The state may not go after us, but we would not be in compliance, as far as I can tell. And this language was added. I did not add it.
Yeah.
The model bylaws that Eagle provided us did not include this language. But in their model bylaws, it does talk about the voting aspect. And voting is you can't. So by proxy means that a representative of the person who is a member of the committee. So if you send a designee, that's a proxy, and that person would not be able to vote. And that could disrupt your quorum. And the other thing that I would add is that this committee has to be in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. And if you don't have a quorum, because people send representatives or designees, that would disrupt your quorum. Or could disrupt your quorum.
That's why I suggested the language, and then I was hoping that would then trigger a discussion for a change.
Change in statute, it's a big one. That's,
Well,
You know,
when,
yeah. Or,
when Ann was appointed by the board,
Mm-hmm.
right, the Board of Commissioners for Ottawa County listed all the seats. What was the language for the seat that was tied with his position? I'm
yeah,
curious.
yep, it was elected official.
It was.
Yep. But when I discussed it with, the committee, the letter saying that we want him to be on, it was presented, and then with the information guidance from Eagle I provided. So they acted with the guidance of Eagle. Because that's what I presented.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
aligning, but
Yeah.
that's a tough one.
Yep, so that would be one I would say, obviously, I wouldn't suggest approving these today as part of discussion, so. And then I will hope to come back with the next meeting with some more information. Between Jack and Eagle, and then we'll put it on the table for additional discussion.
And let me just add this. I'm not wedded to anything. I put this draft together based on the bylaws, the model bylaws from Eagle. Okay. And if they want to give further clarification, I'm just voicing my legal opinion based on what it says in part 115. It doesn't say that any of this other stuff. That is not adhering to part 115. But if Eagle says, oh, well, it's okay, then it's on them. It's not on me. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, and that's where it'd be nice to have something more definitive, like not just, yep, this is fine. It's, either an update to the part 115, or I think they've done like memos or type things of, I've seen them do, I think, memos for the solid waste law, saying that this, here in this part, it will be this by the state or something to make it more legally official.
I would want something in writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because later on, the state says, well, you're not in compliance. You're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
then
why
if there's no record, there's no writings, nothing.
Mhm.
And then it would be looked upon that, well, we did it ourselves. And Eagle says, oh, we don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and to be
That's-
honest, that's why I
Yeah.
decided, when I put
Yeah.
these in there, when I was reviewing this, was I don't want to get my elected official in trouble because
Yeah.
they said that
Sure.
they want me to sit.
Yeah,
So I'm like, all right, this either needs to change or we need something that's concrete that says I can report back to Devin or councilman.
yeah,
It's okay for me to do that.
yeah. And it's nice that we have this recorded now too, so we can say, hey, we had this discussion, this is where it is, can you view it too? So, this is the exact discussion.
As long as Jack is
Yeah.
amenable to
Mhm.
you also taking some time to connect with Eagle, confer with this other group that you have of other counties
Yeah.
dealing with this. and kind of learn from them on how they
Yeah.
handle this elected official bit, get something from Eagle in writing, as long as it's,
Yeah,
you know, again, Jack agrees that that's worth our time and energy to do that.
No, I'd be
True.
more than happy to do that. I just want to protect, I'm protecting us, the county, and this committee. My role is to do that and make sure that you're adhering to the law. And so,
Cause there's no like timeline. This is not a required part of the process, so we can take
That
time.
is
to
correct.
Sure.
yeah, nowhere in part 115 it says thou shall have a
Right.
bylaws.
Yeah.
So, and you were saying,
No, I just was gonna say that this is certainly not gonna be the only circumstance.
Yeah.
Like I heard, like St. Joe's would be 2 people, so that the people are gonna get desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of the cities that I've talked to through this process that are like, how do you do it? We don't have you in our city. There's no way we can, yeah, so it's.
yeah,
So
and-
I think what Jackson was saying though is that Dan can be on the committee as a designee, but he doesn't count towards the room for a vote. Obviously Dan can be here, participate, help, you know, with this, and Dan brings a ton of experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it'd be our preference that he could vote and be, part of the quorum, because, you know, sometimes we do try and get to that quorum there, but,
yeah,
yeah.
And adding on what Russ was saying, I think we were allowed to have up to 2 spots open. So I mean, if there really
Yeah.
wasn't anyone.
Yeah.
In there.
yeah, so, yeah, there was. The language is, yeah, there's language about, yeah, spots being open for like X amount of, like it even talks about the time frame, or if I'm able to fill. Yeah, you can change the makeup of your committee and all, yeah,
That's the
So-
other reason why I brought this up, is because the discussions I'm having with my colleagues that are struggling to put together a committee like this right now.
yeah,
So if we can actually, again, be a leader in this area, then, you
Yeah.
know, it will help them out.
Yeah.
Significantly. So,
yeah, there, like I said, we are definitely ahead of the game in a
Yes,
lot
we
of
are.
elements,
Way
which
ahead
is
of-
interesting, because you're like, okay, the state's already bypassing their
Yeah.
timelines, yet we're ahead of, some counties, so,
Yeah,
So there's a draft update, right? That
yeah.
I mean, can we try and get this, into that? Is
That would
what
be
you
my
guys want?
suggestion. I would that would be one element that I would add. I would talk to, like I said, the stakeholder that I'm part of. I think I'm part of 2 technically, because I've gotten 2 things with the suggestion, would be the MRC, and
Yeah.
then I think there was like
SWAT.
Swan, there you go, is,
I would try and run through that way also.
yeah, like I said, do both elements. And I'll send it to you, Jack, too, so that you
Yeah.
can see.
I would just chime in here in terms of when this is a draft, of course, but when I looked at the initial bylaw model that Eagle provided us, I made substantial changes to that. Hopefully for the better. And if we're ahead of the game, maybe they will look at what we've done as far as the bylaws, this draft, and adopt ours to fit other counties. So,
I do know that they've got a toolbox or a toolkit, like that's where the draft came from, and then they've shared other counties' information and stuff too, so that could be something that they might wanna do.
yeah, I found a lot of things that were lacking in the model that they provided us. So somebody just slapped it together, I think, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I would
I
not,
do know, I will say, I mean, as a feather in our cap, I was at the climate, conference this past, I don't know, about a month ago now, or exactly when it was, but basically, I was cornered by 3 counties plus a few other folks wanting to know what we're doing, wanted copies of everything that we've already done and conversations, so I had to skip my session because of all the questions and things that were going on, so
Sure.
we are way ahead of the game. And, they're looking to us for leadership a lot of around the state, so.
Well,
I've
it's
seen it.
interesting, this part 115 has a lot of parts, moving parts. And the state, whenever legislative bodies put new law together, they're is a lot of unintended consequences that you can't foresee until the legislation is adopted. And then everybody has to work through it. So I'm hoping that the legislature will make changes to Part 115 so that it becomes clearer to all parties.
Yeah.
From what have heard from like the MRC, they're
Yeah.
open. They're open.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they're open,
That's
so,
good.
yep, and it's, I think, key too to express, one of the things I try to do is talk with Eagle as much as I can, because they go back to them as well, to be like, does this change make sense? And then,
Right.
yeah, so if we can have them support us when they bring it up, it's helpful.
And I'd be happy to talk to Eagle or whoever, state legislators to say, hey, this needs to be changed or this needs to be thought through, because it's not really working the way it was intended, I guess, to work.
Yeah, if you're willing to do that, Jeff,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
It's only gonna be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because doesn't the county have the person that comes, I know he comes to some of the
Yes.
meetings,
Yes, he was here 2 weeks ago, I believe.
yeah,
I can't
Is that
remember his
someone-
name, but
yeah,
Bob DeVries.
yeah, that's it, yeah.
yeah, he sits and has all those laws and things that they make changes to that affect the county.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we can talk to him about, or you could
Yep.
talk to your
Yep.
legal and
Yep, for sure.
he could put an ear up there that way too. Yeah,
Could we talk about the other
yeah,
addition that's in bylaws?
yeah.
Section 5. Sounds like there's something that'd be punitive here. If what happens if a committee member doesn't provide 24-hour notice?
Yeah.
The way it reads, like you must provide 24-hour notice, okay?
Or
So
no.
Struck down.
I was thinking, because I wasn't able to make the last one, I'm like, because I had a migraine, I'm like, so I guess I'm done.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is there, if the
More
if
forgiving.
adding something like this makes
Yeah.
sense. If it just, she'll try with all reasonable effort to provide advance. notice.
Yeah. Yeah, can we update the language to be a little bit more friendly?
Oh, we always can make it more friendly. I'm a kind of friendly kind of guy.
Yeah,
They-
see, I'm more of the or else.
I don't think so.
Kind of person.
I did hear that
Or else.
friendliness at the beginning of the
Yeah.
meeting, you're not talking to me.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make an exception right now, but
Yeah.
You're probably there.
I am,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep poking.
Just remember, I came from my dentist office, and so I might not be myself.
Yeah.
Ah,
But
But
yeah,
yeah.
I can definitely, in fact, I wish that, you would supply me with any suggestions, things that you see in here that, you think that need to be adjusted or amended. Again, this was my first attempt
Mhm.
to draft bylaws for this committee. And I think I tried to do a pretty good job of adhering to what Eagle provided us. But I made some substantial changes. And Kim then also took some things out that were in the model bylaws, like what was the two committees?
Yeah, there was like a municipal committee and another one, which I'm like, I don't even know when we would do that, or, I mean, and then, but we also had the verbiage in there of like ad lib committees, like subcommittees and stuff like
Right.
that. So like,
Right.
we could, if we needed them for some reason, we could add them that way.
Right, exactly.
Can you go through the voting, the 7C? I just want to make sure I'm understanding. If we are unable to attend in person, but we do attend virtually. Are we able to vote or are we only able to vote if it's due to illness or service in the military?
Okay, this is language that is taken from the Open Meetings Act in terms of committees when members are unable to attend. And you can come into a meeting via Teams or Zoom or any other type of teleconferencing communications. But if you are not sick or you're not a member of the military and you've been called to service, to maybe you're a reservist, and you want to get on, you would not be able to vote. You can partake in the communications and in discussions, but you would not be able to vote unless you meet those two, either one of those qualifications, that you are sick yourself or somebody, or you're in the military.
So does that give, if you are not sick, can you count towards the quorum or not? Or is only voting members part of the quorum?
Only voting members would be a part of the quorum.
So going back to the 24-hour notice, that's why I think it's important that we do know what's going on. And that if voting only counts when you're here, then as members who have plans or are taking time away from their schedule, if we know ahead of time that there's not gonna be a quorum, then, most of us can do Zoom or whatever, and then we're not wasting our time. So, I mean, I understand about, I don't think anyone's gonna get kicked off, but I think it's important that we communicate as a group so that we can at least honor each other's schedule.
Yeah, that's where it's like, with, people get sick, let's be real. But yeah, but like, okay, I have a scheduling conflict or something like where this is important, but yeah, sometimes there are more important things. It's hard to believe, but things can. And you're like, okay, this has happened. I know in enough time to notify, yeah.
And I like the idea of us being the leader in this, and if we aren't getting quorums and we can't keep approving, then we're just kind of treading water.
Yeah.
Can I bring another item up of some bylaws I have seen talk about attendance? Establishing quorum is really important. If you're not making 3 or 4 consecutive meetings, should there be a conversation?
Yeah, because I want to say when you apply for the committee, it had verbiage, and I was thinking about that too.
Yeah.
About you have to attend like 75% of the meeting.
And that get translated into this.
Yeah, that's what, I had thought about that, but then I think it got locked in everything else, but
What do you think about that, Jack?
I think that's a reasonable discussion and an item that could be added.
Would that include?
I think that there's something in here. I have to look at it in terms of attendance, I guess. We don't have anything in it right now, but I think that that's a fairly reasonable addition to this. And if you want to put that, I suggest that any suggestions, amendments that you can think of, that you just send them to me, and then I'll put them in here, and then you can have further discussions on it.
yeah, and what I'll do is take the, discussion items like this and
Yep.
then send it to Jack afterwards of like, here's the, what I'll do is the follow-up email that I tend to do after this, I'll have that in there. Here's what the suggested edits are. And, we can then see it all together, and then, yeah, if anyone, and then it might spark additional, like, oh, yes, this, or, yeah, so I will do that, make sure.
Hey, Jack, I do have a question about this. Just because it came up today with Nick. It says unable to attend due to illness. Is it the illness of the member or Nick is home because of a sick child? Is that considered an illness where he would still be part of the quorum and voting?
A good question.
It is a good question. In reading the act, it doesn't speak about sick members of families. It just speaks about the member, him or herself. That would be something I would have to do a little bit more research on.
Future reference, I think, for us to.
Yeah.
That's all.
I mean, we did a stellar job beating a quorum today
Yeah.
with everybody in the room, but that's not always gonna happen.
Especially come winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a pretty big committee. And to have a quorum, you just need 6 members.
We have struggled in the past for the other.
Yeah, and that was 14.
Right.
Well, you guys need just to work a little harder.
I mean, I'm always shown. If someone says-
Be like Spartans. Be like Spartans.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
always show up.
yeah.
Even when you're not wanted.
Oh, boy. Don't make me go back to that original
Give
statement.
you like, you're trying to write English so you could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna turn against me.
Yeah.
I don't know what these bylaws are gonna say.
Pretty soon we'll have them bleeding green.
I know.
I know, Jack, send them back with all green font.
I
Yeah,
will. I will do that. I thought about any changes that I make in this will be in green.
Yeah. so if we can put in the county sun there, put a little Spartan in there too.
Another item I noticed, Article 8 miscellaneous, the effective date. If I'm reading this right, it looks like we've got 2 days. People need to receive amendments, revisions for this committee, at least 10 days prior to a meeting. But in the next sentence, it looks like it's broken up somehow. 7 days before the meeting. I think it's one or the other.
Coordinator will provide
Let's see.
at least 10 days prior to the scheduling. Because one talks about coordinator will provide the amendments. The committee. Each proposed amendment. will be sent
Yeah,
to-
that is a little confusing.
Yeah,
If someone's added in.
yeah,
That probably should be the same.
yeah. So we'll work on updating that section.
My vote is 10 days. So,
Yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
yeah, okay.
Again, I think I took this language from the model bylaws.
Yeah.
I think.
There's some interesting things in the, and I provided you guys links to the state's version too, the Eagles version. They even talk about like CEO. Or like. CEO is what equivalency to the county, like, and where do they try to get it?
Administrator or somebody like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that language is from the state
yeah, okay,
draft, so.
yeah. Update
I
Section
was,
4 annual meeting. We'll host an annual meeting every
Mhm.
January. Is that when we're not like meeting regularly to come back? Or
No.
what is the? annual
no,
meeting?
what that
Yeah.
is that your first meeting during, of the year, you set the schedule for when you're gonna meet for the year. That's all. I mean, it's just a regular meeting, but because it's the first meeting of the year, you're setting the agenda for the upcoming.
That's when you
year.
can make changes, like the chairperson and vice chair. Is
Yeah.
that an annual?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like a special meeting, it would just be our regular
No,
meeting in January.
no,
It Gives
it's
us
just the-
the opportunity to make changes.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, which I think there was even, we updated the verbiage, because we talked about that too, like, well, maybe we want to do it in December. It's just, yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
whenever
please.
you schedule, whatever you you want to do, that's fine.
Yeah,
Well, it just.
But
it
it's
says
just
ordinance-
normally the first meeting of the year.
yeah,
You're setting the agenda or the schedule for the upcoming year, so people know, okay, we're gonna meet in January or in June, in April, in December, so they can put it in their schedules. So they know that this is what's gonna happen.
It's semantics, but I've seen sometimes it referred to as an organizational meeting. Maybe that adds some clarity as opposed to an annual meeting.
If it can be called that too.
Discretion of this group.
if that's an update, do you guys like annual or organizational meeting?
Say organizational, meeting. That gives you a little bit more flexibility, I think.
And I think it clarifies the intention.
Yeah.
Right? I think of an annual meeting as like, that's our annual celebration of all the good work we've done.
Let's find us lunch.
I don't know about that.
Right.
Yeah,
I think you guys are having way too much fun in that meeting.
yeah,
Always.
Yeah, I didn't bring candy this time.
Yeah, one job.
That's what.
Yeah. Well, because our last meeting was in the afternoon, so that's
Yeah.
candy's more appropriate.
This is the last meeting before Halloween, Kelly.
yeah.
One job.
Should be on sale even. I brought coffee. I didn't bring it on next time I got.
Well, I have some.
Yeah. I think I need another couple already.
I have some, but I can't have any.
Oh, dentist.
Yeah,
Mm,
Okay, and
I do have one
Go ahead.
question. So under section 8 for conflict of interest,
oh,
I just want to make sure I understand. So members of the MMPC shall not have any personal financial conflict of interest with the company in relation to policies under the MMP. So some of us represent organizations that may be impacted one way or another. How do we, does it talk about, is it personal or the business we're representing?
we
It's
updated that
personal.
version.
It's it's personal financial conflicts of interest. Not your organizations, not, no.
Okay. I just wanted-
We changed that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Is there any disclosure statements that should be included in that, Jack?
Probably.
If I'm a shareholder of Republic Services, am I personally,
yeah, I
That's right.
mean, yeah, 'cause I know some businesses will do that for,
right, employee owner.
yeah.
Yeah, but your main interest, because.
I just want to make.
I know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I think.
Me and Jack talk about this a lot because we were discussing how, in theory, it's very hard for a lot of these seats not to be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, like the
Especially-
haulers, I mean, there obviously is a financial involvement there with the county.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, I don't think you can pull together.
so I'll add a note of looking into if we should add a disclaimer of some sort or
For disclosure.
disclosure, thank you.
That depends. Are you a state fan?
Wow. I
Yeah.
really should be at this meeting
We'll have
personally.
to start labeling ourselves.
Trying to keep it light.
Just saying, I do.
This week you only can be on two sides. You can't be on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can divide the room.
Yeah.
Next time we'll put.
Yeah.
Pictures up on the wall. You can put
Yeah.
yourself on the proper side of the room.
Yeah,
Okay, any other initial comments on the the draft bylaws?
Again, if you have other comments or edits or suggestions, please send them to me or Kim. And this is not the last time you'll see these. It was just the initial discussion. And somebody said we're ahead of the game. We definitely are. So
Yeah, and I guess my suggestion, I think what would be helpful for the group is, Kim, if you could kind of summarize all of
Yeah.
the changes we talked about today, whether it's just a, bulleted summary, or if you want
Yeah.
to mark up a plan that,
Yeah.
of the bylaws that we can take another review of and then send you comments.
Yeah,
And if you can give us
Yeah.
a deadline too, that, I think that
Yeah.
helps me to have a deadline.
Yeah.
Give us, a week before
Yeah.
the next meeting or something.
I think what I'll do, if that's okay with you guys, is to send the summary email, make sure it's very clear, these are the items that we discussed for possible draft updates. That way too, Jack can see, okay, these are what we're focused on looking into, adding, amending, that kind of stuff. And then after we work on those, then send them out with the marked up version so that you could see it within,
Then we could read the whole.
yeah,
thing.
and then you can see it.
Yep,
Yeah,
agreed.
okay. With the deadline.
Yes. Me too.
Okay. All right, any other last comments, questions, thoughts on the bylaws?
And just so you guys know too, it's just I will keep it as a discussion item until you guys choose to bring it to an action item, so.
Yep, that makes sense. And we are up to agenda item 6E, any items from the committee? So I think we can just kind of go around the room. If anybody has anything that you'd like to share, you can, and if not, pass. Does everybody like doing that? Kind of just going around the room and everybody having an opportunity to share if they want to? Okay. All right, start with Dan since you're right here next to me, and then we can go around and then we'll hit the people online.
Yep, no, the city, like I said, we got the $1 million grant for the drop off center, so we're moving forward right now with our partners and our materials task force to figure out what does that look like, what does that mean? We're definitely gonna have, looks like a much closer partnership with Patnas than in the beginning. So we're looking at possibly moving the facility from the Pine Street location that we were looking at to across the street from their Black River location. That will benefit residents, but it'll also benefit operations of our facility for transportation of materials. It also puts us in proximity to our dredging site, which we're taking a look at as a possibility for yard waste composting and different things like that. So as a possibility, so.
Is that off Chicago Drive?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's accessible location too, as long as that road's done. with
Right.
construction.
Oh, well, yeah.
When it's open,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yep, that's what I got.
Nothing from me.
Nothing here?
Okay. Yeah, Nick, anything that you want to share?
Sure. One really cool thing, we just put out a press release, Goodwill of West Michigan. Literally, I believe it went out on Monday, that Goodwill, with a partner, Harvest Nano, has developed and built a cotton textile recycling machine that's located here in West Michigan, where we're converting cotton-based post-consumer textiles into cellulose and nanocellulose materials. So super exciting that we've got that up and going, so that when cotton-based materials are unable to be sold through Goodwill's retail channel, we can actually convert them into new products locally here in West Michigan. So more to come as we continue to develop that, but super exciting.
Nice, that sounds very cool, Nick. Are you able to share that press release, and do you have any stats on capacity?
Yeah, right now the capacity is pretty small, but I can get you the press release for this group.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Congrats, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything really.
I have one question.
All right.
Um, very happy to be serving you guys in terms of the bylaws and putting those together. I just noticed that the next meeting is scheduled for November 27th. That's a Wednesday, but the next day is Thanksgiving Day.
Yes.
And I know that you had problems forming a quorum in the past, I can see some serious issues on the 27th. Just to let you know.
Yeah.
You might want to
did.
reschedule that day.
I did discuss this when I chose this date, when we first did it, but it is definitely worth, that's why I always put it on there, worth revisiting. So,
I would be fine to move it up a day, but we commit, I mean, I committed to being there on the Wednesday, so if it's the day, then be there.
My day's all the same, so.
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
you
Wednesday.
guys aren't gonna be cooking up a storm the day before?
No.
I was okay with it because it would be in the morning, so if I had to, and my house would be torn up anyway, so.
Yeah.
I'll probably be around.
That's all I got.
So sounds like everyone's still good with Wednesday, no mayors, so. All right, then we'll keep it on the 27th at 9 AM. Probably a hard, try to leave early in case there's anyone that needed to.
Okay, public comment? Anybody? Anything? Joe, you always have something to say.
But I do always have something to say. I just want to say thanks for taking the time to be a part of this committee and vote for bylaws and make sure Jack's right, make sure to follow the law because evil can change things and you don't even know they're changed. Sometimes you're not even aware of them.
Yeah.
So I think if you follow the law, I think you have more opportunities to not be steered wrong. Then you can always go back to, this is what part 115 says. So I would just agree with Jack on, make sure that you do follow his recommendations on the bylaws. It's just my outside view and working with Eagle and just working with, bylaws.
Appreciate that.
And thanks for everybody serving on it. And I did talk to Jacob on him this morning. He called me when he was sicker than sick.
Yeah,
And he called me and said, hey, I'm not gonna be there either. I said, I'm just leaving a meeting. I said, I'm gonna be a few minutes late, but he was pretty sick. He could barely talk.
yeah, he was saying too, that like, yeah, the fever and everything, and I know, cause I have a kid in daycare, that there's tons of stuff going out right now.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, we already went over our next meeting, so I guess we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Word.
Assume there's no discussion.
All right,
All right,
well, thanks everyone
Yeah,
attending remotely as well.
You're welcome.
you.
Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day, bye.
Always.
So blue.